I'm just going to quickly go over my own team and my thought process while battling for this week's round robin. Hopefully you guys can get some insight from this. If you, well, you don't have to listen to the whole thing, but the chapters are in the description of the video, and I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. So, just briefly going over the team. This is a Tailwind Rain team. It's pretty standard minus the Glamora pick, but I originally had Landorus in there and I wanted something to deal with the Rillaboom Incineroar cores that were going around. And usually Landorus is pretty good at dealing with those with the Sludge Bomb Earth Power set, but I was finding Landorus is getting blown up a little bit too easily by random stray hits. So as you can see, I went with a pretty bulky Glamora, which I could get away with because Meteor Beam was a free +1, which gave it a lot more damage. And just a tiny bit of speed investment so that in Tailwind I could outspeed Scarf-Urshifu, which is the main mon that I wanted to outspeed. That was Choice Scarf. So everything else is pretty standard. I opted not to go for a Calm Mind Raging Bolt because I felt like my team is pretty fast paced, so I didn't really have time for any setup really. I mean, I could have done it next to Rillaboom, I guess, but I felt like I really didn't need it in this team. So everything else, like I said, pretty standard. If you have any questions on the EV breakdowns, I can do that for you too, but I'm just going to hop straight into the matches really. Okay, so I have the first match pulled up here against Ben. I think this is the matchup I was most feeling confident for because Tornadus Urshifu kind of destroys Trick Room Sun teams right now. Particularly, Torkoal really struggles against Tornadus because of Prankster Rain Dance. Just getting stray hit by Bleak Wind on a switch in or something like that will like greatly chunk it to lower the eruption damage. So I felt pretty confident leading Torn Urshifu into this for pretty much every matchup except there was one thing that I told Ben later that I was scared of, which is Oranguru Incineroar lead would have been tough because the one problem my team has with Trick Room is if Trick Room actually goes up, I have a really bad time dealing with it. I really only have Rillaboom as my bulky pivot or switch into it to sort of stall it out with Fake Out. Other than that, I have to be really careful with like Detect on Urshifu or Spiky Shield on Glamora or Protect on Raging Bolt to kind of stall those turns out because Tornadus and Fluttermane don't have any way of stalling those out. So I really wanted to prevent Trick Room from getting up, which I thought Urshifu could do by just one-hit KOing Oranguru. And the reason I said I was scared of Incineroar Oranguru lead was because the one way that that could be prevented is Fake Out into Incineroar plus Trick Room on Oranguru. That would get it up pretty safely, and I wouldn't really have an answer to that. I think my plan was that if I saw that lead, I would just tank the Fake Out onto Urshifu, get some damage in with Bleak Wind, and then turn 2, I would try to detect Urshifu predicting a parting shot, and just try to slow the pivot down basically, because if he did a hard switch into Torkoal, then he still would have eaten Bleak Wind Storm from Tornadus, even though I'm slow in Trick Room. So that was kind of my thought process, but it played out a little bit differently. Raging Bolt really good here. Functions under Trick Room with its priority move and hits pretty neutral into Torkoal, which is really important. Any chip damage you can get down on that thing is very valuable at stopping it. And Dragon typing really useful against this team too. So having a way to switch into stuff is really nice. So yeah, I was planning on leading Tornado's Urshifu every single game for this because if Trick Room did come up, I was really scared of it. This Hydrapple or Angaroo lead was actually pretty good, honestly, because I later learned that Ben wanted to have Raging Bull on his team over Hydrapple, but he didn't have access to it because he plays on Pokemon Violet. And if this was Raging Bull or Angaroo, this would have been really bad for me. Because my plan of trading Surging Strikes into Rangaroo for a KO, and then if he KOs Urshifu, that would not have worked because Thunderclap would have just probably one-hit KO'd me. I haven't actually run the calc on my Urshifu's EV spread, but I'm pretty sure 108 HP, 12 special defense is not enough to save my Urshifu there. I was actually debating before this week switching my Terra to Grass for Urshifu because I originally liked Grass Terra Urshifu, but the Water Terra was really helping against Flutter. But now that Rillaboom plus Raging Bolt is everywhere and it completely shuts down most Urshifu sets, I think Terra Grass has a lot of mileage there. Being able to resist Thunderclap, Grassy Glide, ignoring Spore, it's actually just really good defensively. I lose out on some damage, but Rain Dance, boosts the damage enough. And right here, I went with the game plan for me, which, like I said, I'm just going to try and one-shot a Rangaroo before Trick Room comes up. He can't protect it. There's nothing really to switch in here other than Hydrapple, which is already on the field. So I felt pretty confident doing this, knowing that the Leaf Storm was probably going to take the KO on me this turn, sorry. But it was kind of a trade I was okay with, even though I had to burn Terra here because I didn't run any calcs on like max bulk or Angaroo to see if I even needed a Terra, which I probably didn't, honestly, but I wanted to make absolute sure here because if Trick Room did come up, like I said, I was pretty much dead. So yeah, looking at it right there, I probably didn't need to Terra. I think Rain Dance Surging Strikes was probably enough. Leaf Storm trades the KO here, which is fine with me, and this is another reason that Hydrapple instead of Raging Bolt is very unfortunate for him because you trade the KO, but now you have this -2 Hydrapple with Assault Vest on the field, which is not going to be really hitting that hard except for Pollen Puff, which comes into play a little bit later because Pollen Puff's the physical move. So yeah, I sent in Raging Bolt here because Rillaboom's not going to be doing too much to Hydrapple, and I'm not really I don't really feel a need to fake out anything right now. So I thought getting Raging Bolt in to immediately get better damage off into his team was more important because with the Trick Room not up, I just wanted to basically just go all in on trying to KO things. Again, I brought Rillaboom mostly as a pivot / slowdown with Fake Out here, but honestly, coverage-wise, it's not very good into his team. Hydrapple tanks Grassy Glide, Hisuian Lilligant eats it, Torkoal eats it, so Incineroar also eats it. In hindsight, maybe I go for Fluttermane, but I felt pretty confident in Torn Urshifu carrying me here, and it did very well here. Right here, Incineroar Fake Out. Rather he does Fake Out into Raging Bolt, and I have Covert Cloak on Tornadus, so I'm not scared of Fake Out. If he does Flare Blitz, Raging Bolt resists it, and Tornadus can tank it because we're in the rain, and Tornadus is EV'd pretty heavily into HP and defense. And like I said earlier, Hydrapple isn't too much of a threat here, so I felt pretty safe just playing it safe, protect the Raging Bolt, and getting some more chip damage in with Tornadus. He did end up switching here, which is totally fine with me, because although I lose the rain here, Getting any chip damage into Torkoal is very nice, but I believe I missed the Bleak Wind here, which is still fine, as you'll see in a little bit. Yeah, Protect blocks the fake out. And then, yeah, I missed the Bleak Wind on Torkoal, which kind of sucks, but decent chip damage into Incineroar. And then Prankster Rain Dance really ruins Torkoal's day here. Torkoal's whole thing is the eruption, so it just really hurts its damage output a lot, and it's really annoying to play against as a Torkoal player. I considered going for Thunderclap or Thunder into Torkoal because I could get damage into it and get the rain up, but I think my thinking was that if he did Protect on Torkoal, then I could just get some chip into Incineroar instead, and the Eruption really wasn't going to pick up any KOs here in the rain, so even a full HP Eruption wouldn't do too much in the rain, so I was pretty confident in just clicking Thunder here into the Incineroar. Paralysis is pretty nice, but I don't think it mattered at the end of the day. And I think he goes for Earth Power into Raging Bolt here, which, yeah, Parting Shot plus Earth Power here is pretty good. He knows I can't Protect anymore, and he doesn't know what my back slot is, so you may as well try to neutralize this thing. Yeah, unfortunately, Torkoal, without its Sun Fire moves, like, its base special attack is not that high, so even a modest max special attack Torkoal Earth Power isn't really going to do too much to Raging Bolt. I haven't invested quite a bit of HP into this one as well, so that definitely helps. But here, I felt like I didn't really need to risk taking any damage on it. And I felt pretty confident in Tornadus just clicking Bleak Wind over and over again, because this is very significant damage I'm getting off here between chipping the Torkoal to lessen the Eruption, and it would have been super effective against Hydraffle, but he does go for a Terra Water here to get rid of the Grass weakness, which helps on the turn, but in the end game, even if he didn't know I had Rillaboom, which I don't think he did see Raging Bolt, so it's kind of hard clicking the Terra Water there. I'm trying to think in my head what I would have done in his position, like who's the best Terra target, and it's really hard to say, honestly, because once the Trick Room doesn't go up for this mode of the team and Tornadus is still alive, I guess what you have to do is really prioritize knocking out this Tornadus. So I guess your best way of that is bringing Flutter Mane, because you can't fake out it. You really just need to get rid of this thing because it just ruins the weather mode of the team. And the Bleak Wind chip is pretty significant. Yeah, honestly, it didn't really matter who I clicked Fake Out into here. I think either way it would have been fine. Torkoal's not really doing that much. But this is where I said in hindsight I should have Fake Outed the Hydraffle because I didn't realize Pollen Puff would do that much damage to me. So, good move on his part. I totally forgot that Pollen Puff could even hit enemies, to be honest, because I always see it on Amoonguss, but I think I consider switching, but Grassy Glide here into the Hydrapple kind of locks the slot out. And I wasn't sure how fast Hydrapple was. I guess I go for a Wood Hammer here because I assume I'm faster. So, good switch here, but the important part to me is I always click a grass move into that slot because if Hydrapple stays in, it will die to any grass move I click there. And even on the switch out, like the Intimidate comes out into the Rillaboom and it resists the hit, it doesn't really matter to me that much. As long as I avoid that Hydrapple getting a move off, I felt very confident in whatever move I clicked here. So even though Rillaboom goes down, Tornadus is still sitting at full HP and can pick up a double knockout here. And then Raging Bolt, I can probably just... I don't remember if I do protect. Yeah, I probably protect here. Just to prevent any chip damage. Yeah. Get the Grassy Turn recovery. And whatever happens here, Tornadus picks up a double knockout. Unless he switches in Hydrapple, but like I said, Raging Bolt is always going to beat Terra Water Hydrapple in the end game. So that's pretty much it for game one. It's a really rough matchup, honestly. I would have to go very in-depth to figure out what I want to do to beat Tornadus Urshifu as a Torkoal Lilligant player. There are definitely ways to play around it, but yeah, I would say that Incineroar or Rangaroo lead would be the thing I was fearing the most. But I don't think it came up. So go ahead and skip to game two. Like I said, I was committed to leading Torn Urshifu every single game this set. Because like I said, if Trick Room comes up, I lose. So it seems kind of lame, but it was really the only thing that was like threatening to me. Like Tailwind plus Surging Strikes always picks up a KO on Flutter Mane unless it's running Terra Water. Rain Dance shuts the sun off, and like we saw in game one, I can just trade KOs into a Rangaroo unless the fake out is there next to it. And here we see the Torkoal Lilligant mode come out. His Lilligant doesn't run Sleep Powder, actually, which is a little bit interesting to me. Like, I know it's really unreliable, but I do think it's very important for this mod, so... because this is where it comes into play, because if I shut the sun off right now, Lilligant cannot... Like, you can't click Solar Blade here. Because if you get the sun shut off, then your Lilligant is sitting there for a full turn with nothing to do. So, yeah, so he's going to switch it out here because he realizes Torkoal's in danger. And I do target down the Lilligant slot because I thought to myself that even if he clicks Eruption in the rain, it's going to hurt, but realistically, it's not going to do any significant chip into Urshifu. Tornadus tanking it kind of sucks, but yeah. Get the chip down here. Honestly, very good damage. Break the sash. And I can't remember what Lilligant goes for here. Oh, it did protect, my bad. So yeah, this is where Sleep Powder probably would have been really nice to have. Because you have the sash, you know Urshifu can't KO you even with the rain. I guess I could have Terra Watered and killed it, but that would have been a big commitment. And clicking Sleep Powder there instead of Protect would have at least shut down one of the Pokemon. And shutting down either of these is really beneficial, because if you sleep the Tornadus, then Torkoal can come in and get the sun up. And if you sleep Urshifu, that's a big damage threat down. So at this point, I feel very confident just clicking my buttons. So, like, Incineroar can't really slow down Urshifu because Unseen Fist plus Surging Strikes is a very balanced combination that you can't really do much about. So, yeah. And this is, like, obviously Torn Urshifu is very, very strong and centralizing. But there are ways around it. Like, there's actually a lot of common metamons right now that are very good at dealing with Urshifu. And, yeah, Raging Bolt, Rillaboom, Latias. There's a lot of Amoonguss, like, a lot of different options. Honestly, I think this set might have been very different if he had Raging Bolt over Hydrapple, which was what he wanted. So it's really unfortunate that you did not have it there. But I guess that goes to show you it goes to show you how impactful Raging Bolt would have been, and it also shows you how impactful Torn Urshifu is. So just having that one Mon to completely shut out Urshifu probably would have made this way harder for me. And Raging Bolt is very good into Tornadus too, obviously. So, yeah, right here, Flutter Mane doesn't scare me because there's no speed control that can come up here. So, Tailwind plus Surging Strike's always going to pick up the knockout here. I don't remember why I Terra Watered here. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you why I did this. I think the thinking I was having was the only possible way I lose is if Flutter Mane gets a move off here into Urshifu. So I guess I just really wanted to guarantee it, but realistically, Rain, Surging Strikes, Mystic Water, Urshifu is always going to KO Flutter Mane no matter what. So Knockoff comes out, but again, at this point, it's like Torkoal really can't do anything. Rain Dance plus Surging Strikes. Yeah, no protecting you can do. Its Terra is gone. So, yeah. Like I said, bad matchup. Raging Bolt really would have turned the set differently, I think. I guess the bigger takeaway, other than the Raging Bolt part, is the Rangaroo Incineroar lead is probably something to get some experience with. That's like a really nice way to guarantee your Trick Room going up. So from here, I'm going to jump straight into the next round. Unfortunately, all the POV here is from my side, except for I managed to catch the entire game 2 of Anthony versus Ben, so I can go over that. I hopped into the middle of a couple games and got those recorded, but I didn't want to analyze those because hopping into the middle of a game is like you don't have the full context or anything, so I didn't want to do that. So yeah, I'll just analyze the full games. So Aster's team is a team that she had mons that she wanted to use, and I helped build the team, flesh it out, sort of give some direction to it. I'm going to be completely honest. On paper, I wasn't very scared of this team, but we actually did some test games before this, and I played some other teams against it. And it might have just been those teams that I played had a bad matchup into it, but it really was more effective than I thought. Like my Weezing team that I tried got really shut down. So at that point I was like, okay, I kind of have to take this one seriously. So the thing with this team is it's like a pseudo Tailwind team, but the thing to me was that the threats here were not super threatening to me. So like even if Tailwind did come up, I was confident that if I could pick up a KO in the early game on the right Mon, it would kind of shut everything down. So excuse me. So yeah, I lead with Rillaboom Flutter Mane, which is a really nice part about this team, which is that you can obviously the Torn Urshifu mode is there, but there's a lot of different modes you can go with this team. It's not just a set duo. And Fake Out with Rillaboom buys a lot of space for a lot of these mons. Like, if I was running Calm Mind Raging Bolt, then it could buy space for that. But that's not really what I brought Raging Bolt into the team to do. So buying space for Flutter Mane is really good because you can get chipped down with... Well, you get big chip down with Choice Specs Dazzling Gleam, and then if you see the opportunity to, you can just go straight into Terra Fairy and start sweeping, or you could use it in the late game, which I believe happens in this game, but I'm not entirely sure. So Pachirisu Ninetales, very supportive, not that much damage threat going into me. A Nuzzle onto Flutter Mane would be quite annoying, actually. But I think here I really didn't want Aurora Veil going up. So I clicked Fake Out into Ninetales and then hit Gleam. Yeah, that was my main priority. But like I said, the Nuzzle into Flutter Mane might have been really scary because that would have basically crippled it for the rest of the game. Yeah, Fake Out. Because this is max speed timid Ninetales, if I remember correctly. So Blizzard and the Rillaboom probably would have... Ooh, I don't know if it would have KO'd it. It probably would have. I don't know, actually. Okay, good chip into Ninetales. Yeah, that is something that it's just a knowledge thing. Like, it's really tough for new Pokemon players, and I really feel bad for it. If you don't know the priority chart, Follow Me redirects most moves at plus 1 priority. Like, you can redirect all those, but plus 2 priority, like Extreme Speed is a good example, and Fake Out, which goes even beyond that, I believe, gets around Follow Me or Rage Powder. So I would say that turn probably would have been fine if they did Nuzzle into Flutter. Because at this point, I can kind of just click Gleam here. Yeah. Because if Flutter was paralyzed there, then Ninetales gets an Aurora Veil up and things become more scary. At this point, like, I don't really know what's in the back that could really deal with this. Chien-Pao is the one that I'm thinking of, and I think, yeah, it is Chien-Pao. I'm still not too scared of Chien-Pao here because I think I can just Terra Water Rillaboom and Grassy Glide into Chien-Pao. I think I was thinking, like, do I need to... Yeah, Chien-Pao has Focus Sash, so there's no reason for me to go for Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam. And, wait, did I not Terra? Did I forget to Terra? Yeah, I don't know why I wouldn't Terra here. It might have been a mistake. I know for a couple games I did make the mistake of trying to Terra and then going back on my move to check something. And then the Terra input doesn't go through, it gets deleted. So that might have been what happened, but anyway, Glamora and Raging Bolt in my back. Both of them don't want to Terra into this Chien-Pao, so it was definitely the right move to Terra Grass, Terra Water the Rillaboom. I like the double protect here, honestly, to scout for a Terra, but I think in this stage of the game, when you're behind like this, 2-4, you need to start making some risks. So I would say this is a scenario where I might want to do, like, protect one slot and then attack with the other one, because that's the gamble there is if they double into the slot, then that's like your opportunity to get back into the game. Like maybe protect. I think my Sylveon is water. That's actually bad. It's so hard to say. I think realistically you have to protect Sylveon and then go for like Sucker Punch or something, but this is actually a good move. I forgot about this. Helping Hand Sucker Punch or Icicle Crash is really nice. Picks up the one-hit KO there. That was a scenario that I actually didn't even think about, so that was a good move there. I actually forgot Sylveon had Helping Hand. Because I think normally I live that, because believe this is my Chanpao that I lended. I believe my Chanpao is Jolly 250-252. So yeah, I actually don't know the calc, like if my Flutter has enough defense to tank that, but Helping Hand there to pick up the knockout. You could have done Helping Hand Sucker Punch and that probably would have been just as good, because if Icicle Crash misses there, then that would have been pretty bad. But yeah, I think here I feel pretty confident. No, I mess up here. There is no reason for me to not go for a move there, I think. I always just double into Chanpao there. Because even if Sylveon gets a Hyper Voice off, it's not that bad. And I think at this point I was like, oh wait, this is not going well for me. So yeah, I'm trying to remember. So Thunderclap into Chanpao here works against everything except Sucker Punch. If Chanpao protects, then he's not getting any damage into me. If he does Sucker Punch, it makes my Raging Bolt's turn kind of useless, but at the same time, it's not doing any huge damage to me. And I'm pretty sure Sludge Bomb picks up a one-hit KO here. I actually don't really love the Terra Grass here, because realistically, Chanpao can either click. It should always click Icicle Crash into Glamour if it wants to hit it. So I don't love that move for me. And honestly, I'm playing this endgame kind of sus. Like, if that was Sucker Punch there, Helping Hand Sucker Punch probably doesn't KO one of my mons, but a crit there probably would have ended the game. Like, if Sucker Punch, Helping Hand crit into one of my mons would have killed it. But at this endgame, like, there's nothing Sylveon can do on its own, so I know that it didn't, like, it may have felt like I was always in control, but I was actually very close to losing that game 1, thanks to some a good Helping Hand play and Chanpao having a favorable matchup in the end game against a lot of my mons. Like, being able to KO Fluttermane, Rillaboom, Glamora, Raging Bolt. I guess the Glamora matchup is not exactly favorable, but I'm pretty sure it picks up a 2-hit KO on me, so I think this game I felt like I wanted to do Tailwind plus Glamora, which is the whole point of having this thing on my team. Like I said, 44 speed EVs into it made it outspeed Choice Scarf Urshifu, so I felt like this was a good time to do it too, because Glamora actually hits 4 out of her 6 mons for super effective. And the ones that it doesn't hit for super effective, Meteor Beam will definitely do a massive chunk to it. I think realistically it should be Flutter main 4. Rillaboom is... Rillaboom has a weird spot here where Fake Out is very useful against Chien-Pao. It either forces the Terra or it chips the Focus Sash away. But on the other hand, obviously Chien-Pao will just one-shot Rillaboom if it doesn't have Terra. So it's a weird coin flip there. It's part of the reason terrestrializing is interesting because it makes 9-1 matchups into not 9-1 matchups, and you have some outplay potential. So, Tornadus Glamora here. Trying to think what I do. I think this is Terra Grass Energy Ball into Samurott to cover for it. And then we taunt Latias. Because what this does is, I talk about that a lot, which is like locking the slot down basically, where even if Samurott switches out into something favorable for her, it at least like locks the slot down. Like that slot is not doing any damage to me. I get some free chip into whatever's switching in. So yeah, that was my thought process. I go for Terra Grass here because I don't want to eat any Mistball damage in case they go for Mistball over Tailwind, which I believe they do. So yeah. And then the special attack drop is really... it can't be understated how important that is on Mistball, because without that special attack drop, that would have KO'd right there. So, yeah, important to know. Also, at this point, I cannot switch my Glamora out because the spikes will pick up a KO. So, I believe I just go for Tailwind? Because I need the speed up for Glamora to outspeed Latias, so... Oh no, I can go Spiky Shield here. Yeah. So this is safer question mark? Yeah, because it keeps Glamora safe for another turn, and I can get chip damage into Latias and KO Samurott with Bleak Wind as long as it connects. Also, baiting out Detect there is great for me, so... yeah, that was a good play. So, me of the past was correct. This is a really risky play, what I'm doing here. I don't like this as much. I don't know what I'm thinking here, because I'm pretty sure Spikes KOs my Glamora the minute it switches back in. I guess we'll see. I could be wrong. Let's see. So yeah, the reason I don't like that turn is because the Bleak One missing there would have been pretty bad. Like, I think the play is to just do Tailwind and then Meteor Beam into Latias probably. Like, you don't have to KO the Samurott, just get as much damage out with Glamora as you can. And then Rillaboom can come in and finish Samurott whenever it wants, basically. That is something that I guess I could talk about, which is that, let's say Rillaboom comes in and Samurott's still on the field. It pretty much, like I talked about earlier, it kind of locks the slot away. Like, I can always click Grassy Glide into that slot, and Samurott will never be able to do anything without getting KO'd that isn't Protect. So if you're going to if you're in a scenario like that where your slot is in danger of getting KO'd or doing nothing, that's the time where you kind of need to take the Protect or do whatever to make let's say Sucker Punch fail or Grassy Gliding or Protect. Do whatever you can to do that, and then your other slot needs to pick up the slack there and get rid of this mon that's locking you down, basically, or hinder it in some way, stop their game plan, basically, something like that. Yeah, the Covert Cloak there is blocking the Nuzzle Paralysis, which is really nice. I think realistically you probably want to do Super Fang into Tornadus. Pachirisu damage is absurdly low, so you're really only going to be hitting things with Super Fang. This is the other part about Tornadus, which is that even in just the battles we've watched, like, it's getting so much damage out. Like, you can't really ignore it realistically because the Bleak Wind damage is actually kind of significant after a while. And obviously the support it gives is amazing, but like, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, Latias here, honestly, pretty good chip damage right there. And this is a Recover set, so I actually think Recover probably could have been good here because Rillaboom and Tornadus are not threatening Latias that much, so it could actually stay on the field a lot longer by clicking Protect there over Mist Ball. You don't... I guess it would have been taunted. Okay, never mind. But in general, I think Recover probably went under the radar here as a possible option, so that is something to think about. Man, this game is actually close as well. Like, all the things in my back are pretty weak except Raging Bolt here, which I believe switches into a Super Fang, so... Let's see if I remember correctly. Yeah. Oh no, it goes into Rillaboom. Okay. So this is most likely Protect. I think you Protect Raging Bolt, Grassy Glide, Chien-Pao. Actually, no, take the KO on Pachirisu. And the reason I say that is because Pachirisu Follow Me is actually really annoying for Raging Bolt. So that's why I target down this slot, even though Chien-Pao is clearly the bigger damage threat, is because I need to get rid of the redirection. Because once that is gone, I always win with clicking Grassy Glide and Thunderclap into Chien-Pao. So that's the thing, like, even if I think she wanted, like, even if I didn't Protect, like, if you KO Raging Bolt or if you KO Rillaboom, it doesn't matter because Thunderclap or Grassy Glide, depending on which one survives, or Woodhammer, I guess, into the Chien-Pao. And then my last mon is Glamora, I believe. Oh, you know what? Maybe that did matter. Because Glamora dies to spikes, probably. That's hard to say. No, I think you die to poison, no matter what. Which is really funny to say, but I think that actually is the case. So yeah, I mean that may have it was a 2-0, but like the meme, like it was close. Like I was definitely in position to lose some of those. So this is the one that I didn't. It's not my perspective, but we got to see the full games, which is why I'm talking about it here. So this is Anthony versus Ben, game 2 or 3. I think it's game 2. This this is a really interesting one because Anthony doesn't actually have a way to stop Oranguru Trick Room because it's running Terra Dark, Mental Air plus Inner Focus, so you can't flinch it, and you have to taunt it twice, and one of them can't really be a prankster taunter unless he decides not to Terra Dark, so it's very hard for him to actually stop Oranguru, so I would consider bringing like Incineroar, Rillaboom, Weezing, Regigigas in some order. Like, basically, I think the plan is you kind of have to stall the Trick Room out. Or, what's really interesting is you could actually do Weezing plus Fake Out User. Yeah, actually, that's really interesting because if you use Weezing plus Fake Out User into the Oranguru, you can fake out the Oranguru and then taunt it with Weezing and then consume the Mental Herb, and then the next turn you can taunt it again. The other thing that you can do, which I think he did this game actually, was Encore onto Oranguru. If that happens, Oranguru gets Trick Room up and then eats the Encore. It has to switch at that point because if it stays in, it's gonna revert Trick Room back to normal. So I think you can use that to buy some time for your partner, and then your partner needs to get something done here. But this is the power of that Incineroar Oranguru lead I was talking about earlier, which is Fake Out plus Inner Focus plus Mental Air is very, very hard to stop. And if you're wondering why the screen keeps cutting out, it's because every time I alt-tab, that's what happens. When I'm watching through Discord, at least. So, switching here is fine. You could definitely have parting shotted if you wanted to. Protect is interesting because it lets you get off more double taunt. Protecting here preserves Oranguru's ability to go for Instruct or something here, which could be useful. The thing now is that Anthony actually really is in a spot to slow play this, I guess. Like, his mons are not threatening any damage right now, but just by wasting the Trick Room team, you kind of put the... it's on Ben to kind of swap his damage in, I guess. Which I guess, as you just saw, just happened right there with the Earth Power into Weezing. But yeah, this is kind of the issue here with Anthony's team, I think, which is if you get stuck with too many supports, it's very easy to just, like, ignore things. Like, there's no threat really coming up, so... yeah, it's actually kind of tough. I think we both mentioned, like, you should probably run Moonblast on Whimsicott, and he kind of agreed, so... Yeah, the Urshifu here in this team is pretty good, honestly. I kind of like it. Um, it's just kind of like I think Scarf Urshifu is very good, but it's not quite as flexible. Which on a team like this, you kind of need the slot to be flexible. This is kind of the problem with the power duo teams. Like, some teams have a very clear duo that they're trying to go with. Is that you really need your back mons to be as flexible as possible to sort of fulfill the roles that you're missing. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you try Mystic Water Urshifu into this instead of Choice Scarf. I do think Choice Scarf Urshifu is really good if you have a Flutter main weakness, so that's something to think about. So Hydrapple getting a lot of usage out here. Although I think Trick Room is close to ending. But at this point, Wheezing is too low. And this is the other thing that I forgot to tell Anthony, which is you probably want to run Protect on Wheezing. I don't know if you replace Pain Split or Protect, but... you either get rid of Taunt or Pain Split. Probably Pain Split for Protect, because the other way you can neutralize the Regigigas team is just by knocking out Wheezing, which comes up later when I play against him. But it actually kind of backfired on me, so we'll see. But yeah, if you get rid of Wheezing, the Regigigas slow start starts up on that turn, which means it's pretty much dead weight for the next, 5 turns or whatever. So, the Terra Stellar Regigigas here is really cool looking. I really like it. But yeah, unfortunately, I think he KOs Wheezing here, right? Okay, no, Pain's... Yeah, and then it lives Earth Power, right? Yeah, okay. So maybe the play... Like, normally I think that Wheezing set he has is actually quite good. But I think specifically for Regigigas comps, you really need Protect. Like, it is so important to keep the Wheezing alive for Regigigas, so... I think there was something else this turn, too. Yeah, I think he should have done Pain Split into Rangaroo and then knock out the Hydrapple with Double Edge or something like that. Because even if Rangaroo protects here, like the Pain Split gets blocked and the Regigigas knocks out the Hydrapple. And I think that was actually the game defining moment here, because if you do what I said and knock out Hydrapple, Pain Split into Rangaroo, then Wheezing stays on the field, Regigigas gets another turn to run free, and Hydrapple's out of the picture, so... And at this point, I think there's just not enough damage. Like, Regigigas can't really do enough damage without Wheezing, so... what's funny is it still has 80 base power attack with slow start, so it's still hitting decently strong, but it's just not enough, so... Oh, excuse me. So yeah, I think this game's pretty much over. Yeah, I mean, once Regigigas goes down here, there's no real... because Whimsicott literally has no attacks, then he can just double target the Regigigas slot. every turn. Okay, yep. So that's it for that one. The last set is the longest, which was between me and Anthony. This was a team I was scared the most of, actually, because I don't really have a reliable way of taking Regigigas down. And this is, I think, the set where my Glamora specifically is really important. Glamora here hits super effective into the bottom 4 Pokemon on his team, and it should do a lot of damage to Weezing with Meteor Beam. So I think my plan here was to mainly just ignore the Regigigas and try to take down Weezing. And it actually kind of backfires on me because I forgot about Terra Steel here. This is a good lead by Anthony. I think Incineroar plus Regigigas is really nice because you can switch in Weezing at any moment and get that power spike going. And Tornadus here is really not doing me any favors. Like, I brought it in case Whimsicott came along for the Tailwind Mirror, but without Whimsicott there, you can see I'm kind of hesitating. I think, yeah, I ended up going for Tailwind Spiky Shield. Spiky Shield to block Fake Out, and then Tailwind because if Regigigas takes the KO here onto Tornadus, if Weezing switched in, then I would still have Tailwind up. And if he didn't take the KO, then I can always just click Bleak Wind later. This is something you'll often see me do on Tornadus, which is if I feel like Tornadus is about to die and I need... if I at all need Rain Dance or Tailwind for my back Pokemon, I'll just click it before it dies, even if it doesn't benefit me directly or like immediately. Yeah. So here, my plan was that I thought he was going to do high horsepower into Glamora. So that's why I Terra Grassed, and then my plan was to take a KO onto the incoming Weezing with Meteor Beam. Because I do think it one-shots it, but I didn't run the calc. And even if he didn't switch, I would have KO'd Incineroar immediately here, so... Yeah, this is the turn that I think loses me the game, the first game. Which is that I think my Glamora misses the Meteor Beam. Yeah, so that would have been... It all crumbles from here because I don't get the KO on Incineroar. My Rillaboom is now at half damage, effectively. And my Glamora has just lost its most powerful attack, basically, because I can't click Meteor Beam again because the power got consumed. So now it's really tough because I can still fake out the Regigigas to stop it from attacking this turn, which I think you'll see me do. And then at this point, I have to focus Weezing as hard as I possibly can. And there's nothing really I can hit it with very hard with Glamora except Meteor Beam. So, well, you know, as I say that, like, Sludge Bomb almost knocks it out. So this next turn is the other part, which is I forgot it has Terra Steel. And the Terra Steel Hair actually ends up being really huge because I didn't realize until later, but my team has a really bad time with Steel type. My only super effective option in this deal right now is Earthfru Rapid Strike's Close Combat, which is not super useful given how common Steel can be as a defensive Terra, so this is a really good Terra on his end. Because this kind of negates Rillaboom from doing damage to it, negates Glamar from doing damage to it. And at this point, it's really bad for me because Tornadus is effectively useless here, which is why I think you never see me bring it again. It just can't do anything meaningful to this duo. Which is, you'll see me touch on that later in game 2 and 3. But yeah, this is the last time I bring Tornadus because it's just not doing anything for me except into the Tailwind Mirror, and I think into the Tailwind Mirror I end up just going full offensive leads instead. So at this point I'm pretty sure I try to kill Regigigas because it's gotten chipped, and I see a possibility for it to go down with Choice Specs Moonblast plus Sludge Bomb, I think. So yeah, I take out the Regigigas here, but the biggest issue now is I have no way of KOing Weezing. Yeah, the back is Tornadus, Rillaboom, both of which are not hitting Weezing, so this is where high horsepower, or sorry, is it high horsepower? It's either that or Stomping Tantrum that Rillaboom has that can be useful for taking down stuff like that as a ground coverage, but I kind of valued U-turn over it, but maybe for my team it would have been better over U-turn. So at this point the choice specs have been knocked off, and I think I try to conserve Flutter Mane for the last turns where it can get an easy KO in, but yeah, I mean, there's just not enough damage on my back Mons. Weezing can pretty clearly click Sludge Bomb here forever, and it actually hits Rillaboom hard. It does damage to Tornadus. That doesn't really matter because Tornadus isn't doing much, and Flutter Mane's at one shot, so there's not really much I can do. I like the Incineroar switch in. Like, even though neutralizing gas stopped the Intimidate, just threatening the Rillaboom means that I have to switch it into Flutter Mane if I want to keep it alive, because I'm running Assault Vest and I can't protect here. So it's kind of putting me in a check position to which I don't really have an answer to. So yeah, I think this is pretty much like you can't really do anything at this point. I think at the very end, the reason I didn't surrender is because I wanted to see how much damage I could do to Weezing with Shadow Ball, and the answer was not very much. Like, I thought this would do a lot more, but it really didn't do a lot, so that was just kind of info gathering before last turn. And then I keep playing it out because I think there's technically a way for me to win if I crit like 6 times in a row on both Mons with Tornadus Bleak Wind, but that's not happening. So game 2, my plan was just lead as powerful of an offense as I can possibly have. So I think I'd bring Flutter, Glamora, Raging Bull. Let's see here. Flutter, Glamora, Raging Bull. Urshifu or Rillaboom here is fine. Urshifu does more damage, so I think I picked it over it. And my Rillaboom has a bad matchup into 4 of his 6 Pokemon, so... The only thing it really does for me in this particular matchup is beat Urshifu for me. Which doesn't matter because I have Raging Bolt to do that. So in this position was what I originally had Tornadus on my team for in this matchup, was to beat Whimsicott in the Tailwind Mirror, but this is actually fine because there's no real threat coming down on my Mons. Because Incineroar doesn't really threaten that much damage into me, and I can get Gleam off for good chip, and Meteor Beam will always get a nice amount of damage in. So he immediately goes for Parting Shot to slow Fluttermane down the next turn, which is pretty good, because let's say you fake out Glamora, that means I get Toxic Spikes up, and Fluttermane is unchecked for 2 turns basically. So, and right here I think I targeted down the instant slot, but getting damage off into Urshifu is nice. Big damage, getting the boost. So I have to Terra Grass here to stay alive against Urshifu, and then I can switch Raging Bolt in for Fluttermane. I remember what happens this turn. I think I go back on one of my options, and it doesn't tear my Glamora. Yeah. And that's actually so sad, because realistically, I always Terra Grass the Glamora here to survive the Surging Strikes, but it looks like he didn't go into that slot anyway, so I'm glad that happened instead of probably what should have happened, but I guess there's no way he knew Urshifu and Raging Bolt were my back. The Encore there is really smart. I like that. Forcing me to Meteor Beam, making me a sitting target again. And thinking back on it, I really should have done Raging Bolt switch in, because now I think the Urshifu gets to fire free Surging Strikes into my Mon, and I can't do anything about it because of the Encore. So there were definitely some big mistakes I made this game, but I think it ends up being okay. So the switch out here is not too bad. The thing is, he's saving the Urshifu to deal with Fluttermane, which I think is a good idea. But it also means that Glamora's getting a lot of free turns and damage off into spots where it really has no business living. Like, it's hard to say. Like, the turn that he did Surging Strikes into Flutter slot instead of Glamora, and then I switched into Urshifu, like, You definitely have a free KO there on Glamora, but I definitely understand wanting to lock down the Flutter Mane slot by using Surging Strikes on it, so maybe it's just hindsight for me. So here I actually, yeah, it doesn't really matter that I can't detect because Unseen Fist exists. So I feel pretty safe switching in Raging Bolt, even though it loses me my +2 social attack, because I can always deal with Urshifu at this point. And this is kind of where his team comp kind of faltered, which is the non-Regigigas mode cannot... it just doesn't quite have enough to win on its own, I think. Like, Ensign, Urshifu are both great Pokemon, and Whimsicott is a really good Mon, but I think Whimsicott is better suited to... I think it's better suited to enabling other types of Pokemon. Because I think specifically for the Urshifu Incineroar type thing, I think Tornadus kind of wins that slot because it can set up Rain, and because Bleak Wind gives some extra damage that Whimsicott doesn't have. And as you can tell, this game, like, Incineroar kind of hasn't been doing that much. The Whimsicott has gotten some pretty good encores off, I'm not going to lie, but Flutter Mane has gotten 2 free Dazzling Gleams pretty much. And Raging Bolt is kind of the real killer in the endgame here. Yeah. So this one's pretty much over, I think. Thunderclap, just such a strong option in Urshifu, especially Scarf Urshifu, which can't protect itself. So game 3 here, last game. I think I consider going Tornadus Glamora again because I felt like that game I could have won if I had hit the Meteor Beam, but I think I decided to just do the same lead again. Or same Mons, actually. I go Raging Bolt Flutter Mane first. I think the reason I did this is because Flutter Mane's main weakness on his team is the Urshifu, so by leading Raging Bolt Flutter Mane, I immediately counter Flutter Mane's main threat, and then Flutter Mane can kind of pretty freely click Dazzling Gleams. The only issue here is that because he didn't lead Urshifu, Raging Bolt's kind of doing whatever. I didn't want to Draco Meteor immediately. And I was fine eating the Fake Out chip here because it conserves my Protect for the next turn, which I think is really nice to have. And that's actually an interaction that's really nice against Incineroar because if you Protect on the Parting Shot, it actually blocks Incineroar from pivoting. So it's definitely something to keep in mind whether or not, you know, a lot of the times you're just like, obviously he's going to Fake Out because he can only do it on turn 1. So protecting the chip damage is the obvious answer. But sometimes it's better to take the chip and then just be able to protect next turn depending on the matchup you're going into. So that's something to think about for sure. And right here I want to conserve Fluttermane for endgame, so I ended up going into Urshifu. Get a Thunder off. Honestly, Thunder connecting here is so big. If it does not connect there, it's really not good. And realistically, I think I should really be running Thunderbolt over Thunder. In hindsight, that Thunder connecting kind of sucked for me. I forgot about that, the pain split. But I honestly thought Thunder was going to KO, because Weezing is mostly physical defense mon, so I would have to see a spread, but I would guess it's very heavily into HP and special defense. So this is where I'm considering tearing Urshifu to just immediately knock out whatever's in that slot, because I don't think you can switch anything in except Rillaboom. But I decided against it because I think endgame Flutter Terra Fairy would be nice to have, and Rillaboom does eventually come out here. Urshifu does a lot of chip into Weezing. And I double into the slot, and it's honestly quite risky. Like, missing the Thunder there would have been really bad if he got a pain split off, so I think this next turn is a double protect angle. We'll see what comes in. I think he brings Incineroar in. Yeah. So this is, like, I talked about tanking the fake out, but this is a scenario where there's too much threat to your mons. So double protector is definitely the answer. Like, just get rid of the double fake out option and also get some grassy terrain healing up, which is pretty impactful for Raging Bolt especially, but I consider swapping in Glamora to I actually do swap in Glamora. I guess this does get me Toxic Debris up if I need it. I don't love this play by me, honestly. Because the danger here is that if he had done fake out plus some sort of move into that slot, then Glamora eating a free hit there is really bad for me. But it's in safely now, and this is where it really shines, I think. Like, it threatens a KO onto either of these mons. Even if Raging Bolt is not really threatening that much, which is why you see me, like, I think I clicked Draco Meteor into Rillaboom, I think. And he protects Rillaboom. Because Raging Bolt has kind of done its job for the most part. Which is protecting Flutter early against the Urshifu. And now Glamora is kind of the main threat now for him, because what you're about to see, like, Meteor Beam easily takes a KO here. And it's set up to sweep now, because the +1 special attack plus the slight speed investment makes it faster than most Rillaboom, and it can pick up a knockout with Sludge Bomb, so it's really in a good spot here for the end game, I think. So the last mon ends up being Regigigas, but it doesn't have Weezing up, so I feel pretty confident clicking Terra Grass Sludge Bomb, but it looks like the... Okay, yeah, so he only has 2 mons left. Actually, I don't love this play either, honestly. Because even though I get a double protect up to scout for Terra and get some grassy terrain recovery, what this does is it actually refreshes the protect for Rillaboom. Because I think it protected last turn, and this turn it has to attack, and then next turn it can protect. I think I had a pretty free Terra Grass plus Sludge Bomb into the Rillaboom and take the knockout. Yeah, you get a free KO there unless he... No, even then, like, if he hard reads me and goes for Terra Stellar plus Double Edge into Glamora, it's not going to knock it out without a crit. And even then, it might not knock it out. I don't know. Like, Regigigas was slow start, crit Double Edge, Terra Stellar into a bulky Glamora. I don't know. But regardless, I can always lock down the slot by clicking Sludge Bomb under Rillaboom there. And Regigigas on its own cannot do no damage. So yeah, at this point the game's pretty much over. I think that was a really good showing for Glamora in general. It really is like hard to switch into, or like you start thinking about what moves it can hit you with, and you start to realize it really does hit a lot of the meta. Like, I actually thought about it, and Energy Ball is only really there to hit Urshifu. There aren't that many other water types I'm trying to hit, so I could put Earth Power in for more coverage, but it actually doesn't do that much damage, so having the option to hit Urshifu in general is better, I think. So, and with that, that's actually the last match, so I said I would keep it brief, but it's been an hour and 20 minutes, which I guess happens if I'm analyzing turn by turn. So yeah, let me know if this helped, and next week, I will probably be bringing a new team, so look forward to some new shenanigans and maybe another breakdown on that.